Greetings everyone, and thanks for tuning in for this paranormal pit stop. Tonight, we'll be adventuring through a former plantation home turned museum that's located off of Ashley River Road in Dorchester County, South Carolina, about 15 miles to the northwest of Charleston, across the Ashley River, now acting as a National Historic Landmark District, boasting the oldest landscaped garden in the US, and rumored to be stalked by the dead after dark. Are you prepared to explore the history and hauntings of Middleton Place? Historically, Middleton Place was first established under early South Carolina planter John Williams through the 1730s, and following his passing would be inherited by his daughter Mary, who in 1741 would go on to marry one Henry Middleton. Over the first year of their marriage, Henry would complete a main house on site and would begin planning and working on gardens, and in 1755 he would add a couple of two-story freestanding wings to the north and south ends of the central structure. Following the death of Mary in 1761, Henry would move into a smaller abode and would pass Middleton on to his son Arthur, and in 1776, amidst the American Revolution, Arthur would go on to sign the Declaration of Independence. In 1780, the British would invade Charleston and would loot Middleton Place, leaving it in shambles while taking Arthur Middleton as a prisoner. However, Arthur would see release in 1781, and in 1783, surrender terms forcing British troops to depart all southern colonies would be signed at the plantation. Over the years, Arthur's son, Henry Middleton, 43rd Governor of South Carolina, would expand heavily upon the estate's gardens, introducing a range of new flora, which included the first camellias grown in an American garden. And following Henry's passing in 1846, the expanse would be inherited by his son, Williams. In 1860, Williams Middleton would sign the South Carolina Ordinance of Secession, officially declaring the state was no longer part of the U.S., and subsequently, South Carolina's actions would result in the attack on Fort Sumter in April of 1861, sparking the American Civil War. Nearing the end of the war, in February of 1865, Union forces would capture Middleton Place and would burn the main house, north wing, and part of its south wing. And in 1868, Williams, who lacked funding for proper repairs, would restore the roof on the south wing and would transform it into the primary abode. Following Williams's death in 1883, Middleton Place was passed on to his wife Susan, and in 1886, the Charleston earthquake would result in the walls of the main house and north wing crumbling, and in further damages to the gardens. In 1900, Middleton Place would be inherited by Williams's and Susan's daughter, Elizabeth, who would go on to make a number of minor restorations and modernizations across the property, and upon her passing in 1915, she would leave the plantation to her cousin, John Julius Pringle Smith, who was actually the great-great-great-grandson of the late Henry Middleton. Smith and his wife, Henningham, would utilize Middleton as their winter residence, while laboring for years to replenish its squandered landscape. And through the 1920s, the couple would open the estate's gardens to the public. Through the 1930s, the Smiths would launch a slew of restorations and renovations aimed at restoring the house and its outbuildings to their classic 18th century grandeur. In 1971, the plantation was added to the National Register of Historic Places and would be designated as a National Historic Landmark District, and shortly after, management of the site would be acquired by the newly established Middleton Place Foundation, with Smith's son, Charles Duell, stepping up as its first president. In recent years, the Middleton Place Foundation has put extensive hours into the research and documentation of the thousands of enslaved individuals once held by the Middleton family. The plantation and its grounds remain open to the public into the present, offering both guided and self-guided touring options, as well as overnight accommodations through the inn at Middleton Place. Over its lengthy existence, local legends have formed surrounding this old expanse, most telling that its grounds are haunted both by the souls of the numerous generations of Middletons who were born, who resided, and whom died on site, as well as by the vengeful spirits of the many enslaved individuals who had their entire lives stolen from them, and those frequenting its bounds have reported disembodied voices from empty rooms, the phantom sounds of children heard laughing, crying, and playing, footsteps from the stairs when they're completely empty, and the overwhelming feelings of sadness, dread, or of hopelessness that are so strong at times they've resulted in some having to leave the property. Several informal investigations of Middleton have yielded high EMF levels, eerie EVPs, orbs and strange mists in photography, and extreme temperature fluctuations, and many visiting the property have described encounters with shadowy figures that stalk the living, as well as the constant feeling of never truly being alone. Also reported at Middleton are the scents of pipe smoke and of old-fashioned perfume smelled wafting about, instances of doors opening and closing on their own, objects sighted moving by themselves, and inexplicable electrical malfunctions. Lastly, a number of full-bodied apparitions bearing resemblances to various members of the Middleton family have been spied roaming the grounds, some appearing lost or confused, others continuing about lives long since past, seemingly unaware they're dead. Thanks for tuning in for this Paranormal Pit Stop. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.